guys, I am Chris Kaler.
And I'm Amber Frost of Kyuujin Cosplay, and today we're back again, guys, with Zero, episode 16, season 2.
Yes, last episode was about Otto, Emilia, and Subaru. It was intense, full of emotions. We got a kiss!
We got a kiss!
So yeah, Otto, turns out Otto can speak to animals. He has been able to do that since birth. Well, since he was a little kid. At first, it looked like a curse more than anything. He was cut off from everyone. He could not understand, what people were saying. It was muted in his ears. It wasn't good for a little kid like that, but he got helped by his big brother, who showed him, he showed him how to communicate through words on paper, so that was pretty cool. There was a lot of stuff about his backstory, how he basically was told not to use his gift because people would judge him, and then it turns out that when he used his gift, he was still cast out for the wrong reasons, so he basically chose to stay alone and fend for himself, and that has changed since he met Subaru. That has changed since he found a friend to protect, and he kicks some ass with Garfiel.
Oh, that he does.
Yes. And then with Emilia, there was a shouting match. Subaru basically told her, you know what, I'll tell you the truth. You have those faults. Basically, you're not perfect, but I love you anyway. And she had a hard time believing him, but then at the end, I think we made some progress towards understanding.
Hopefully.
So, last episode was called A Reason to Believe, so there you go. Let's jump in this third episode of part 2. See what they have in store next. If maybe the talking to she had is enough to have her pass the first trial.
Please.
Let's go.
Please.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, all those episodes of trying to figure out how she was close to Satella. She's Satella. She's been, manipulated or overtaken by Satella. She has a link to Satella. She's her fucking daughter!
Damn.
She's a witch too! That makes so much sense!
Oopsie.
Oh god, finally we know, okay, it makes a lot of sense how she could be affected maybe by the sin, because we didn't know if when Subaru got out of the sanctuary, when he got out of the graveyard and there was Satella right there, we were wondering if maybe she took over Emilia's body, possibly, because they definitely have a connection, and that would make sense with what she saw, the flashback of her mom saying, they told you this harmless lie to protect you, and she called them all liars and stuff, and I was like, what better lie that would be, like a harmless lie, than to say you belong, you're in our family, we're your family, we love you, we care for you. The lie was that she was part of the family, when instead she was the witch's daughter. Makes a lot of fucking sense!
People kept saying that she looks identical to Satella.
Again!
That she's just like a doppelganger, but she was technically her daughter.
Makes so much sense. So then, there you go, we have our connection, and if this is what she's been seeing every time she did the trial, no wonder it broke her, because she didn't remember this connection to Satella, and now she, having her show up and tell her all these things probably freaked her out like crazy, but then, ending amazing. Even though the secret came out, I wasn't, I was happy to hear about it, but then we had so many theories about this that I wasn't that much surprised. I was more focused on the fact that she took his stance, said his things,
She took some confidence from him and she used it against the Witch of Greed.
Definitely. And that's great, because now it makes a lot of sense with what he said to her last episode about how the beginning doesn't matter. What matters is what you are today, what you made of yourself. Makes a lot of sense, because her past is Satella, the witch. So basically, where you came from doesn't really matter. What matters is what you became and what you grew into. And that person is a good person. So focus on that. It's perfect. Oh, God. I'm so glad we finally got our answer. Okay.
I'm glad that we finally saw what happened with Garfield when he was younger and with his mom.
And it's so sad.
I know that I said in the previous episode that he needed to work on that bad temper of his, but it makes sense that someone who is hurting so much will be so much angry.
Yeah.
And just put it on everybody else, you know.
It's basically that he wanted to, he feels like he was abandoned. He's basically a kid whose mom never came back. And it was easier for him to blame her. Well, not blame her, but put this.
He believed that she left because of because of him and his sister, that she wanted to be happy, and he was only a burden.
Which would explain why she never came back. It's easier than to accept that she never came back because something happened to her, or who knows, So in his case, and it's also easier to explain why she left because he didn't understand that. He was too young. So he grew up without his mom and he never really had an answer. He was, like I said, he was too young, so he didn't know the whole truth. He remembered her loving him, but then it hurt because if you remember your mom loving you, why did she leave? So it was easier to think that she never loved me. I was a disappointment. She couldn't even bear to look at me, and that's why she left. That's an explanation for a kid who just doesn't understand what happened. And then to grow into this bitter kid who basically he's a protector though. Like, that's the thing. That's why he's that strong. He wants to protect the people of the sanctuary. He doesn't want them to have to go through what he went through. Because when you come out of the sanctuary, the truth hits you in the face. You find out what happened, you realize there's no going back. There's no sanctuary to hide behind or into. So if his mom is really dead and he goes out, he'll learn the truth. There's nothing he can't pretend anymore. So that will push him to, accept the truth, accept himself, and move on. And he wasn't ready for that. The change that they talk about, is not an easy one, but it's a change that's necessary in order for him to feel good about himself. And he wanted to protect everyone from that change. Like, they're all living in a blissful lie, so let's make sure that they stay in that blissful lie and they don't have to come out and face reality.
But by doing so, is not taking into account what their feelings and what they really want.
Yeah, and he was lying to himself. He was lying to, he was creating this portrait of his mother that was not true because it was easier to accept and make sense of. But he was truly just hurting himself and hurting the memory of his mother. Mm. So I'm glad that, and basically he forgot that his mom loved him, and that's all he needed. Remember that there was someone who loved you, who didn't leave because of you. And I think that's the thing. He lied to himself at first. He came up, and he was really young when he took that trial. So I think that by that time, it's the fact that he was this young, he made up a story in his head about why his mom left. And then he started believing that story. And when he grew up, he forgot it was a story. He started believing it was the truth.
Believe the lie?
Yeah. So going out, and facing the potential reality that this was not, what happened or stuff like. In this case, it's because he thought that she left for happiness and she never found it. So it's a harsh reality.
But he did saw the broken carriage though.
Well, yeah, I remember when you watched this, I remember, Subaru facing his own trial and asking Echidna if it was true. And she basically said, all I showed you was stuff that you made up in your own mind. So I don't know how much of this was true. Perhaps it was. It's just that, because why would Garfield make this up? I think it might have been true, and it's probably because it happened near the sanctuary. It was not that far away. Maybe she saw it. Maybe she knew about it. Who knows? Maybe people knew about it and they didn't tell him, like they said, because he was too young. They didn't tell him the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what Frederica said. You think if something had happened that we wouldn't know, we didn't tell you because you were too young. So if people knew in the sanctuary, probably Echidna knew too, and she showed it to Garfield. So, yeah, basically he got hurt when he's a kid. Like I said, he's a kid who grew up without his mother and tried to make sense of it.
I can't believe that he's only 14.
It's crazy, but he had to take on the role of protector very young.
And it really looks, because even though that it's a drawing, the way that he's
he's got muscles like he's 25.
Really immature sometimes, but it's true that he looks way more older than he's supposed to.
Well, yes, because I think he had to take on responsibilities, and he kind of like Subaru did, you know, with his power. Again, we got someone who connected with Subaru in this way. But the part of Subaru that I feel like Garfield connected to is the part that was saying, oh, I have this power, so I need to make sure everyone stays safe. So he's basically at that point where I cannot ask for help. I don't have people who can do this for me. I need to do things alone because I'm the only one with the ability. So this is the Garfield that relates to Subaru. This is the part of Subaru that he relates to. And I love when they connect with the main character in a way. They're all so broken. They all have a lot of you know, road to do to change and become a better version of themselves and a less broken version of themselves. But Subaru, having been through all of this, knows exactly what to say because he's been given these same advices. Sometimes it's easier to give the advices to someone than to, you know, apply them to your own life. So even though Subaru might not be completely healed from what he went through, he's in a position to relate and push them towards that same change.
He now knows that strength relies in numbers.
Yeah.
You're not alone when you're fighting someone. You can rely on your friends and people who cares about you. So
Yeah, and Garfield has his own Emilia. With Ram.
really rude
Well, that's her thing.
and tough Emilia.
And that's, you know, he's been living his whole life thinking that he had to protect everyone in his sanctuary from the outside world and the reality that it represented and the possibility of hurt. So I think that's why he looks older. You know, he had to take this on, and like Subaru did, he tried to do everything alone. But then you've got a friend who shows up. You got a friend in me. Sorry, that just popped up. He basically found a friend in Subaru, someone who understands what it is to, you know, have this weight on your shoulders, and someone who understands that it's not good to do it alone either. You know, someone who's been told by other people that, man, you need to, you know, ask for help. He did to Garfield what Otto did to him, sort of. So it was needed, and he did his trial, and he got closure. So now he can move on, get out of the sanctuary, meet up with Frederica.
You did see that he was way more calm and happy.
Yes,
when he got
definitely
finally closure.
Yeah, he looked at peace, and I understand it because before that, he thought he was the reason his mom left. He literally thought his mom tried to find happiness by leaving him behind. It's gotta fucking suck for a kid to grow up with this in mind.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I really enjoyed this episode. I waited for this. I like Garfield, actually. Might be the voice actor, because, I mean, I know the voice actor, and I like it. I like him a lot. But I think I was waiting for a backstory when it comes to Garfield, and now all we need is Patrache.
Yeah, true.
Her own backstory.
We need to know about girl.
No, but seriously, it was a good episode. It breaks my heart to see how broken these people are. And yet, it makes me happy that we get to see it because we get also to witness their healing process. It's not just about Subaru now, it's about everyone and everything they've been through, which makes sense because we've been saying, you know, a few episodes ago when Subaru was saying, you know, I'm the one suffering, I'm the one who has to go through this shit. And so the witches were like, what about Satella? She's also going through her own shit. You know, you never stop to think that you're not the only one who suffers. And we talked about this and how he needs to open his eyes a little bit more and realize that others have also suffered, and to dismiss their suffering by saying, oh, it doesn't matter if they suffered, I'm going to make it stop anyway. And to really stop and look at the suffering and acknowledge it is what healed him, and it's what might heal them. So I love that we're doing just that. We're stopping and we're looking at everyone's backstory and what everyone has been through and all their issues. Kind of like Subaru. So that's cool.
Which is really nice.
Yes.
I
The
really-
show is doing
I
a
also
good
really
job.
like his surprise family that to support her during the
I
trial.
know,
With
it's
all of the
so
trying that he
cute.
made for her. And I understand why he couldn't tell her the surprise.
And he
basically.
did that before the speech from last episode too, so this kid is a good kid. Oh man, he deserves to be loved. He deserves
and
this.
you know that what he was doing, he was suffering too a lot.
Yeah, he was, well, every time he's in the graveyard now, yeah, he's suffering physically, so. Yeah, like I said, he deserves love, and I'm glad that he's finding it left and right now because he's accepting friends.
Yay.
And now we have a bunch of people ready to go kick some ass at the manor as soon as Emilia is done with that trial. Like a
okay.
fucking champ.
Can't wait.
Cause but Emilia this episode too, like a champ, she took confidence. She was confident. That was a change.
Well, I think that now she accepting the fact that Subaru loves her, that she got someone at her side that looks at her and see her for who she is.
She wasn't scared because of what he said. I think she stopped being scared of her past. She's decided to accept it and move on. And that's what we saw. We saw an Emilia who wasn't shackled by her past. And I love it. I love it. Okay,
Alright.
we're ready for the other trials. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode with us. If you want to see the next one right away, it is on Patreon already. You can check it out if you want. The link is in the description below.
And if you don't, wait for the next one to be out on YouTube, which will be next week, guys.
Yes. Bye.